Good morning. It's Thursday morning, and today we're going to talk a little bit about long-term care and the importance of it and some thoughts around it. My name is Mark Bilger. I'm with Bilger Insurance here. We're based in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in North Texas. Um, but if no matter where you are, long-term care is a very important part of preparing for not just your future, but also for your most important asset, which is your family, your loved ones, the people that you would take care of. If they needed your help, those are going to be the people that will take care of you if you need help. So today we're going to talk about the importance of long-term care. I'm not going to do a whole bunch of statistics. Normally you see that, how many people are going to need it, when they're going to need it, men, women, how long they're going to need it. Today is not going to be about that. Today's going to be a little less technical. And if I have some time, I might show a little cost estimating tool that you can use anywhere you live. You can put in any zip code in the nation and it'll give you an idea, because what long-term care might cost in Dallas-Fort Worth might be different in Omaha, Nebraska, Seattle, Washington, Miami, Florida, New York, wherever you might be. So we're going to jump in, talk about a few things. Some of these slides I like, some of these slides I don't like. So I just want to express how important it is to look into these things. So we have just a little bit of agenda. We want to discuss the consequences of not having a plan for extended care, and then a little discussion on developing a plan to mitigate those consequences. So we all know that living a long life could be in our future. So planning for it now is a necessity. And a lot of times if you talk to other insurance people, they'll tell you that you actually pay for long-term care with your health. You buy it with dollars, but you pay for it with your health, because quite honestly, your age and your health have so much to do with purchasing long-term care insurance that the younger you are and the healthier you are, you're going to get it for less money. It's going to have more value. All right. So what do I believe? I believe most people understand they could live a long time, right? We could. The way medicine is changing, all the different medications that are being created, we could live a lot longer. In fact, most of us realize that we are. We understand it's possible that most people could become frail or need care as they age. So most of us don't get better as we get older. I know we like to hear stuff like that, but after a certain time, it's pretty consistent. It's a downhill thing. And most people are willing to consider taking action if they understand that needing care could have serious consequences to their family and their retirement portfolio. Now, why is their retirement portfolio important? Because that's how they're going to be taking care of their family. Still, a lot of people say, what if I don't live a long life, Mark? Very few people in my family live that long. Or even if I live a long life, what if I don't need care? What if I don't get sick and I'm just healthy till the day I die? Well, not to sound morbid, but that'd be a wonderful thing, because very few of us want to be chronically ill for an extended period of time. But I think all of us know someone who has been chronically ill for an extended period of time, and we realize that it is a definite possibility. So the risk of dying at an early age may be high, or the risk of needing care may be low, right? You die early, so you don't need care, or you're super healthy, so you don't need care. But have you considered the consequences to those that you love if you ever did need care? Okay? So it's not a when you need it, it's a if you need it. So a lot of times you'll hear people talk about long-term care versus extended care. We try to say extended care more often than long-term care, although it's just been drilled into everybody's psyche for so long, because the image most people have when they say long-term care is someone sitting in a nursing home, sitting in a wheelchair, pushed over in a corner, or sitting in a bed that they never get out of. And that's not really what we want to think about. We want to think about an extended care event, and an event that means you need care for a long time or possibly for the rest of your life. But the placement into a home is our last option. We don't want to do that if we don't have to do that. And so we look at it more as an extended care event. So what is that? Well, that's going to be a physical impairment, right? This is pretty technical. I said it wouldn't be technical, but some things are technical. That's defined by a chronic medical condition that can be managed. That's a big thing because we're managing all these conditions. That's why people live longer by medication and therapy, but it cannot be cured by either one. So these compromise your ability to get through the most basic daily functions. We call those the activities of daily living. There's 6 of them. If you can't do 2 of them, that's typically when extended care is needed. Or cognitive impairment, which is a decline in your intellect, making it difficult, if not impossible, for you to safely interact with the environment. This, you may be physically fine, but we know we've all seen people with dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, things like that. It starts to affect them cognitively, and now those people basically need to be watched or tracked so that they don't become a danger to themselves. Both of these require custodial care. Custodial care is not medical care, and it's not covered by Medicare, Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage plans. It's not covered by any of the regular insurance that people carry. Custodial care is not considered health care. So what's going to happen if you don't have a plan for an extended care event? Well, there's 2 sets of consequences. The first is to the emotional and physical well-being of those that you love. So remember, if you would take care of somebody, they're going to take care of you if the time comes. That's who we're worried about. I've seen this firsthand, and I'm going to tell you about it a little bit in just a second. So extended care is a safety issue, and that means providing care, supervising, and movement, and that becomes all-consuming. So this 24-hour responsibility has a direct impact on the caregiver's emotional, physical well-being. This is more true than most people want to believe. If you know someone who's been a caregiver, then you've seen this happen. So what happens when you need a care event or you have a care event is usually a spouse or a child or a grandchild or some other loved one has to step in, which just causes him or her to reorient their life. And so there's some usual consequences, not always, but quite often. What happens when a child becomes the caregiver? Well, if you have to provide constant care to a chronically ill person, you most often become chronically ill yourself. You start to develop different kinds of health problems. Stress is extremely common. Depression is extremely common. All those things. It forces a child to put aside his or her life because what else are they going to do? They're going to step in. They're going to take care of you. And then often providing care doesn't bring children together. It often tears them apart. One child usually steps in and is doing more of the care. The other ones may chip in some here or there, or they don't live in the same area, so they're not able to help. It just depends, but oftentimes it actually drives the children apart because mom or dad need care, and one of them is doing more than the others, and a lot of resentment gets built up, or they don't agree on the care, and that creates a lot of tension between them also. Simply put, this is the most important part of the whole thing. If you need care over a period of years, your life is not going to end, but someone else's is. All right. So far, we haven't mentioned nursing home care, because that's not where these things really start. The real issues start when the family decides to keep you at home. Nobody wants to go to a nursing home. People want to stay at home. They want to stay in their community. What do I mean by that? Well, maybe they can't stay in their home by themselves, but they can move in with a child or a grandchild or a niece or a nephew or something like that. But they want to be part of the community. They still want to be part of a home life. So why do families struggle with this? Because they want to keep somebody at home. It would be so much easier. Just put them in a nursing home, right? Pay the bill. Well, because making a placement like that, quite honestly, would just break your heart. Nobody wants to do that. That is as hard on the person going in as the person making the decision to place them someplace, and that's why families step up. The second set of consequences, remember, is your emotional and physical well-being of the caregiver, is your ability to keep your financial commitments. Now, I'm not getting into the costs and the prices, but I can tell you, extended care events, living in an assisted living or a nursing home is very expensive. So paying for care requires reallocation of your income, right? So if you have a good income, but all of a sudden now you have to send $5, $6, $7, $8, $9,000 a month to a home or pay it for care in the home, that's a terrific burden. If it lasts long enough, you're going to have to get into your savings, into your retirement savings, in your portfolio. Well, some people save for that, which sounds good, but we're going to discuss that in a second. This could have a direct ability. There's siren in my neighborhood. This could have a direct impact on your ability to secure the financial stability of your surviving spouse, children, grandchildren, and if you had planned on passing on any sort of legacy and never looking at an inheritance. Extended care events are the things that can wipe out a portfolio faster than anything. So how can the plan protect people? Well, we have two objectives with that. One, we want to allow you to remain in the community, like I was talking about, without risking the emotional and physical well-being of those who provide care, right? And then we want to preserve your retirement plan so it can execute the purposes you intended it to do, which is support all of your financial obligations, your surviving spouse, your surviving children, minimizing taxes if possible, all those things. So let me give you a good little example. So we have two people, Alan and Camille, 43 years old each. They have two children. All right, they've got a combined income, 150,000 a year. Home's worth 300, still owe 150 on it. It's got about $250,000 in a retirement portfolio. They're doing very well. One child's in private school, the other's already into college. Alan suddenly dies of a heart attack. So of all that money, that income, that house, what has been allocated from the retirement portfolio, that $250,000, or the equity in the house, to pay for all the continuing obligations? She still has to pay the mortgage, still has to pay the college education, the private school, all the other obligations that they have. What part of that has been allocated? None. What did Alan do? Instead, he purchased life insurance. And he didn't buy that because he thought he would die during his working years. He was only 43 years old. But he did know that even though there was a low risk, the consequences of if he died early would be catastrophic to his wife and his two kids. So he didn't allocate money to pay for everything after he died. He purchased life insurance. That would protect his family. And he purchased it for the same reason everybody gets life insurance, for their family. It's not for the person who dies, it's for the person you leave behind. So let's say Alan doesn't die. That's good news. And they both make it to 78. Now their house is paid off and it's worth 400. They've got that retirement portfolio up to 800,000 and got some cash. Things are looking really good. They're retired, so their Social Security income is 40 between the two of them, and they're pulling out 40 out of their retirement. Alan loves to golf. Camille loves to ride horses. They both travel, and they have a house in Florida. They have one of those children has not made the best decision, so now Alan and Camille are paying for a grandchild's education. So they're done paying for their kids, but they are actually helping with the grandchild, which is very common. Then Camille gets diagnosed with Alzheimer's. What part of all that has been allocated from the retirement portfolio or their income, the 80,000 income, to care for her over the next 8 to 10 years? None of it. Or all of it, because that's all they have. Where else is it going to come from? Now he's faced with how to pay for his wife's custodial care, because he would like to keep her at home as long as possible, So he looks into all the things that people think are going to help. Medicare, it doesn't pay for custodial care. He looks at the VA. She was in the military for a short time. It's not an option given his assets and income. He looks at Medicaid and he learns it could pay for custodial care, but only in a nursing home. So we'd have to actually put her in a home. And that's not what he wants to do. He also finds out to qualify for Medicaid, he has to give up most of his assets, all that savings, all the equity in his home. All that stuff has to go away to qualify for Medicaid. Now, there's certain limits. We're not getting technical on this one. He gets to keep a little bit, but trust me, you don't want that to happen. The problem is they consist of low-based investments and qualified funds in his stuff, so he's going to have to pay a whole bunch of taxes once he sells those off. So he's going to get hit twice. Not only has to get rid of it, has to pay a lot of taxes on it. And then when she qualifies, if she does, her pension goes away. The state's going to take it. So a lot of people think Medicaid is free, and I can tell you, Medicaid is not free. In no way is it free, especially for someone who has to work to qualify to get into it. You don't want that to happen. So he wants to keep her at home. He wants to take care of her himself, which is going to put a burden on him and on his children. His health starts to fail to the point where a child has to step in and assist him. So now there's two people who need care. Whoops. And what does that do to her health and relationship with her siblings who do not help out? Now we have a major problem. So even though Camille has Alzheimer's, her husband and her children suffer from it. So why do we want to look at long-term care? Because it's going to be a tool to protect your family and your retirement portfolio. Okay? And a lot of people think, well, if I need care, it protects me. That's not really what it does. It protects your family. Remember, it provides a stream of income that they can use to provide the care for others to provide the care. So your spouse becomes a supervisor rather than the direct caregiver, which is way less stressful and way easier on that person, especially if it's a spouse and that spouse is of an advanced age also. But even for a child, I can give you a personal example. My father-in-law had to go on dialysis and was unable to live on his own after his wife passed away. He came to live in our home. So first we had to remodel our house because we needed an extra bedroom. So we did that. And then my wife became his caregiver for the most part. And she changed her work schedule. She had to take him to all his doctor's appointments. For a long time, he was on dialysis, and our family and friends would take turns taking him to and from dialysis so we could all work around it. Then he began what's called home dialysis, and my wife had to become the caregiver because he was unable to learn all the steps. He was starting to get a little mentally challenged as far as remembering all the steps go into it. Now, it's a very complicated system, so I don't blame him for not being able to get all the steps down. She did it. She had to hook him up every night at about 8 or 9 p.m. before he went to bed, unhook him every morning so that he could get up and move about the house. And for over a year, she was unable to be away from our house between 8 at night and 8 in the morning because she had to hook him up every single night, take him off every single morning. Then he made 2 trips to the hospital and to a skilled nursing care. They did not have the equipment. She had to lug our equipment to the hospital and show up at the hospital every night and every morning to hook him up and take him off. So even though he was in a fully functioning hospital, my wife was still his caregiver at the hospital and the skilled nursing facility. If you don't think that's stressful on a family, on a person, her mostly, but then the rest of us, it's something to behold. So it's one of those experiences you can't believe you got through it, but you would never want to do it again. Secondly, it's just a gift to your children. It keeps them together by keeping them apart. We were fortunate, I guess, in a way. My wife was an only child, so any decisions she wanted to make, that was the decision. Um, I had another experience where my brother, sister, and I all chipped in to help with my mom during an extended care event. We were very fortunate. We all got along and trusted one another and ended up being okay. I've seen the opposite happen. All right. How many of you think that long-term care protects your assets from being spent on care? Well, it doesn't do that either, right? It provides a stream of income to pay for your care. So the primary income generated by your Social Security, your pension, and stuff like that doesn't need to be reallocated. Your ability to support your lifestyle, which includes commitments to your family, is assured, and you never have to go into your portfolio. If you have enough long-term care insurance, you don't need to go into your portfolio. You don't need to affect the income for the family. It maintains their way of living. But a lot of people will ask, well, why can't I just use my assets? Why can't I self-insure? Well, everybody's self-insured to a certain point, because even if you buy insurance, you're going to pay for it with your money. But I have a lot of money saved up. Why can't I? Well, you can, but you probably pay substantial taxes if you have to liquidate low cost based assets and qualified funds. So if you have a lot of money in qualified accounts and you have to start taking out big chunks of it, you're going to get hit with all the taxes. If you have to take it out before you're 59 and a half, because extended care does happen to younger people, then you got to pay even extra because you got the penalties. So this erodes your portfolio. But what happens then in a down market, it gets eroded even faster because now you're pulling out extra, more than you had planned on. The market goes down, it's decreasing your asset base. Your investment income now goes down. So now you have to pull out more to maintain the income that you did have. So it's just a spiraling effect, and that's how people run out of money. So can you use your assets? You sure can, but they are not going to last that long if you have a true extended care event. Just a few final thoughts. Kind of like the life insurance. People don't purchase life insurance because they think they're going to die during their working years. They buy it because of the consequences to those they love if they die. Statistically, most of us don't die young, and we know that. But we also know that some people do. And if there's people that we're going to leave behind, we buy life insurance because we want to make sure they'll still be okay because they depend on us. People who love someone don't purchase long-term care insurance because they expect to need care. They buy it because of the consequences to those they love if they do need care. So, that is a little bit of a long-term care explanation as far as why it's important, what the true cost is. So if I take just a minute and come back to explain the true cost of long-term care, there's a dollar cost. And, you know, if worse comes to worse, you end up on Medicaid and the state goes in and provides you a bed in a semi-private room. And then they're going to take all your money. They're going to leave you, you know, a couple $1,000s in your name. They're going to take the rest of it. They're going to take your Social Security. If you're the last surviving spouse and you pass away, they're going to go take the equity out of your house. You're going to pay back. They're going to try to get back as much as they paid for you, however they can. So it's not free. It just may not cost you anything while you're going through the system. Okay. If you would like some information on what it might cost in your area, let me go find another screen. This website, just called CareScout, carescout.com/. /cost of care. You can't see that in there. It's an awesome site. You can just go in and put in your location. There's one in Texas. If I want to see what long-term care is going to cost in a month, not this year, but say in 10 years, it'll tell me what it's going to cost, right? So if I need a home health aide in 2034, that's only going to cost you about $8,000 a month. If I want to live in assisted living, it's going to cost me $79,000. And if I want to live in a nursing home in a private or a semi-private room, it's going to be $12,000 a month. If I want a private room, it's $14,000 a month. So imagine that for 8 years. If you have the assets that can pay for that and not erode a portfolio, then that's a fantastic thing. You've done a great job preparing. If you don't, you may want to look at long-term care insurance. This is a really good site. Again, it's carescout.com/cost of care. If you have any questions about long-term care, if you would like a quote on long-term care, there's actually several types of long-term care that are available, and you need to talk to a broker to have those explained to you clearly so that you understand what works best. Their costs vary pretty dramatically, but anything that costs more has a different type of value than things that cost less. So it's worth knowing. I appreciate everybody that tuned in today. We will be doing more webinars in the future. We'll be doing some more long-term care ones with a little more technical information. And like always, we do Social Security, we do Medicare, and anything else that people request, we'll try to find a way to do that. If there are no other questions, then we will go ahead and end our session for today. I appreciate you. Again, my name is Mark with Bill Gear Insurance. And if you need any information, email us at info@billgearinsurance.com, or there it is. Or you can always call us at 817-662-0315. Thanks.